and welcome to episode 2 of New Team, New Technique. New Team, New Technique is a show dedicated to leveling up as a painter by exploring a new painting technique, well, new to me at least anyway, with every new kill team that I start. This episode I'll be experimenting with oil washes and the grim dark style. So without any further ado, away we go. Ordinarily, I use a light undercoat like Wraithbone because I'm attracted to factions with bright poppy colours. The Blooded, however, are completely opposite to this, and because I'm going for the grim dark look, I started by priming the models black with Vallejo, which I prefer to the Citadel black spray because I find the Vallejo one less thick than the Citadel one, so less chance of clogging up the detail on the minis, and it's much cheaper besides. Generally, I try to apply 3 tones to every colour when I paint, a shade, a mid-tone and a highlight, so I'm not going to change that with this team. Old habits die hard, I suppose. I'm just going to change the way I approach it. I'm going to hit the entirety of the models with an oil wash later on, so I start by applying the mid-tones to every area of the model, starting with Steel Legion Drab on the chap's coat here, and this chap's trousers. Next, I apply Castellan Green to the Flenzer's trousers, and I should mention that I'm applying 2 thin coats here to ensure even coverage. Followed by Dawnstone to the Corpsman's coat, and the reason I'm painting 2 minis here and not the one is because a single model doesn't have every colour represented on the model, so I wanted to make sure all the colours are chosen work before painting the whole team. I then move on to Zandri Dust, painting the glove, bandage wrap on the arm and the leg of the Corpsman. Because I wanted my Blooded kill team to worship Tzeentch, I used Thousand Suns blue to paint all the cloth that has been attached to their armour, like on the shoulder pad of the Corpsman and on the back of the Flenser. They may be part of the Black Legion, but they worship their own god of choice. Next, it's a classic choice of Rhinox hide on all the leather parts, like the back of the shin guards, the belt including any pouches, the strap of the lasgun, and the wooden gun butt of the lasgun. Pallid Witch Flesh is next for the base of the skin tone, and mercifully there's only a few areas of skin on the minis, the back of the head and the hands, which I applied 2 thick coats this time round. Now I'm going to apply Trash Metal by Scale Colour to all the makeshift armour on the models, which includes the chainmail, the armour plates, wrist guards, shin guards and knee guards, but pretty much any part of the armour that doesn't look like Imperial Standard Issue. I bought this paint thinking it would be good for Orc Commandos, which I still haven't started yet, but I found the paint to be better than I expected. The coverage is really good, allowing for 1 coat coverage that doesn't clog up any of the detail. It's cheaper than Citadel and comes in a handy little dropper bottle. Now, to break the silver armour up a bit, I take some brass scorpion and pick out the odd bit of detail. Cut off from Imperial Supply, they have to use whatever material they have to replace or supplement their armour, so I don't want it to be all the same colour. I then use Iron Breaker on the lasgun of the Corpsman and the blades of the Flenser to see if I can make the metals seem like they were made out of different materials. The lasguns are standard issue Imperial weapons after all, and the blades were scavenged from fighting Tzeentch worshippers before the enforcer of the regiment fell to chaos and corrupted the other regiments. I just want the metals to look a little different, and hopefully this will do the trick. Next, I apply Gorgunter Fur to the flesh areas of the Flenser because I thought it might make an interesting skin tone. I'm absolutely useless at painting skin, so I do like to use contrast paints where possible. I just wish GW would do a range of skin tones in their contrast line because there isn't a lot to choose from, especially for the darker skin tones. But anyway, I applied 2 thin coats and it looks alright, I suppose, but just alright. I use the same method with the Corpsman but with Dark Oath flesh this time, but I don't know, perhaps I need to use a grey instead of an off-white as the base coat. Maybe then I'll be able to achieve a deeper tone. If you have any ideas what I'm doing wrong, put it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. Next, I paint Rune Lord Brass on all the areas I want gold, like the mask, the hilts and handles of the knives, and a bit on the main body of the las gun on both sides, just to break it up a little bit more. Well, I say gold, but I'm hoping to get a dirty off-gold result when I'm finished, and Rune Lord brass seemed like a good start. A quick step of Caliban green on any grenades that I might find on both models. Now it's time for the black armour, and I use a method I applied for the last episode of New Team New Technique, mixing up inks to find a chromatic black. This time I used 2 drops of green, 2 drops of red and 1 drop of blue, because I wanted a nice cold metallic black. I mix these thoroughly together and then apply the mixture to all the black metal areas, like the shin pad that I didn't paint with the trash metal, and the black armour itself and the black parts of the las gun. I then break out the Abaddon black just to paint the boots because I didn't want those to look metallic. I then applied Typhus corrosion to where the scrap bits of armour joined together, and in retrospect I wish I went much heavier than I did in this step because the result is a bit too subtle. Finally, realising I forgot to paint the needle, I broke the pallid witch flesh out again to paint the container ready for contrast paint. Deciding Volupus pink would do the job. Following up with trash metal again to finish the job. It's time to move on to the oil wash, using a mixture that I first saw Marco Frizzoni, if that's how you pronounce his name, use, which is a 50-50 mix of ivory black and burnt umber oil paint from Winsor & Newton. I then mix in some odorless thinner, which is essentially white spirit, to make a thick mixture to apply to the model. I would recommend using this in a well ventilated area using a mask because it is a harmful chemical. When I applied the mixture to the model, I found it was a little too thick, so I just added some more thinner. Happy with the result, I applied this very liberally to the model, working it into all the recesses, moving as fast as I could. Before the oil wash had time to dry, I immediately used a cotton bud to start removing the excess while leaving the wash in the recesses. The most effective way I found to do this was to alternate between wiping the mixture away and smearing it into the recesses. I took my time moving between wiping and smearing, steady now, until the wash had started to dry. It was only when the wash had started to dry that I used the white spirit in its pure form, dipping the cotton bud in, removing the excess on a paper cloth before applying it to the top surfaces I imagined the sun to catch. I must admit, at this stage, it seemed the white spirit removed most of the ink which I applied to the armour, leaving patches of shiny ink over the black of the base coat. This was certainly unintended, yet I quite like the result nonetheless. I find it adds texture to the model in a way that fits into the grimdark aesthetic. I love this about learning new things. It might not go quite the way I expected, but have nonetheless learned something new along the way, and I think I'm going to try and manipulate this on future models in the kill team. After giving the model a blow dry and picking off all the cotton wool, I started highlighting. First with Baneblade Brown over the Steel Legion Drab, then Strachan Green over the Castellan Green, then Zandrai Dust over the Zandrai Dust. Admittedly that's not a highlight, but it does neaten it back up a bit. Then Grey Seer over the Dawnstone, then Doomball over the Rhinox Hide, Temple Guard Blue over Thousand Suns Blue, then Stormhost Silver over the Ironbreaker, and I'm trying to create a stark and striking highlight to make the models appear as gritty as possible to fit in with that grimdark aesthetic. And then Ironbreaker over the trash metal parts of the armour. With highlighting the black, again I used the same technique as last episode, mixing together the ink mix and Dawnstone for the thick highlight, and then Dawnstone on its own for the thin highlight on top, but as well as the highlights on the non-metallic black on the boots. Finally, I highlighted the Rune Lord brass with Liberator Gold, and with that, let's take a look at the finished product. So here they are, and do they look grimdark? Nah, I don't really think so, but they don't exactly look heavy metal either, somewhere in between maybe. Can I tell the difference between the two metals? A little, I suppose, but I'm not sure if it's worth the extra effort. And you can't really see it too much in this picture, but there is a spot of shiny ink above the breastplate of the flenser, just above the chainmail, and I quite like that's happened, as I do think it fits in with the vibe. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the result, and I can't wait to see the whole team finish together. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and do you think they look grimdark, or do you think I've still got a lot left to learn? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I just want to give a massive shout out to my subscribers. Last time I posted a video I was on 98, so I'm on 125 now, so that's amazing. I'm past that 100 mark, so thank you so much. So yeah, next goal is blatantly 500 subs, so if you're enjoying the content, I would appreciate the sub if you could. The next video is going to be painting the Demon Ogrin, so hopefully I'll see you in the next one. But until next time, may you always crit massive.